This is iFanboy Pick of the Week 953, brought to you by Xanax and iFanboy listeners just like you. Hello, my name is Conor Kilpatrick, and this is my co-host Josh Flanagan.
Oh, hey.
And we are iFanboy. This is iFanboy Pick of the Week, episode 953. Every week, one of us picks the book they like the best from their stack of comics. We call that book the Pick of the Week. We're going to talk about that book, other books of the week, the Patron Pick, listener mail. I really wanted to hit that. It's going to be fun. Here's a spoiler warning, exercise of caution. Josh, I have to admit that when you sent the email through saying, here are the books and here's the pick, that I did a double take at the Pick of the Week.
I don't blame you. Pick of the Week is X-Men number 7.
You're not an X-Men guy.
I must have picked a couple X-Men books over the years
here
and there.
It's been 19 years. You had to have by odds.
I thought long and hard. I think I generally enjoyed the books I read this week, but it was a thing where nothing I was like, it's good, but this and the whole time that I was reading X-Men, I was thinking to myself, this is what X-Men feels like it should be to me, and it has very little of what I haven't liked about it. So the part of the other thing is that I'm used to reading an X-Men book and a bunch of shit is going on that I don't understand, and I don't know what it's based on or who the characters are or what their deal is.
Sure.
I know pretty much who all the characters are in this, and I had read what came before it. So I was pretty well set up. But at a certain point, I was like, why is Magneto in this chair? I must have missed what that was. But this issue actually explained, I don't mind not knowing what is going on because you're not telling me yet. But with X-Men, I never know. It's because I just missed it and you accept I know it.
Sure. But
in this, I was like, they wrote, Jed MacKay has been writing this series as kind of a hot jumping on point. It's pretty straightforward. And it's got a really nice, we spent time with all of the characters to a certain extent, and they've differentiated themselves as you sort of go through this. And I'm really enjoying it because I haven't read so much X-Men. It's kind of refreshing. As we watch sort of the Avengers get somewhat flaccid over the years, it's nice
every
to
time
see
they show a little bit of tumescence, they fall back down.
Yeah. It happens.
They need a different pill. I was not so. I mean, I didn't do the double take because it was a bad book.
Sure.
I did double take because I wasn't expecting an X-Men book from you, but I liked this quite a bit. I thought once you picked it, I started thinking about it because that's what we do on the show. Our brains are now wired to do that. And I thought, you know what? The really strong thing here, two things. One, guest artist Netho Diaz is very much in the Ryan Stegman school, so it fits that aesthetic. It's not so different than Ryan Stegman, and Ryan Stegman to me is one of the big draws of the book. But two, structurally, I thought this was very strong because we went back in time, like you said. We found out how Magneto got hurt and what happened with the giant Sentinel. But then we had the stuff with Beast, and then the stuff with the girl who thought she was a mutant, but she wasn't, but maybe she is. And it gave you little morsels and then little cliffhangers. And it felt very much a little bit kind of like Jed MacKay. That's the guy who writes this book. Zeb Wells' Spider-Man. There's a nice flow of stories happening. And I thought it was very well done structurally.
Yeah, and structurally within the greater story that he's telling. Yep. I mean, I think that we're on the 7th issue. It hasn't been pummeling you. Wasn't so many stories are, we're going to destroy their whole world. Well, that just happened. And this is the aftermath part. But what we're not doing really is struggling with their trauma. They've been through a thing, and that's not ignored or whatever, but they're starting a new thing. They're kicking off the next sort of part of their life. And there's stuff that happened in between that we're slowly getting to know what it was and how it affects them. They spent all the time with this girl, and they find out she's actually not a mutant, or maybe she's something, I don't really know. But there's a mystery there. We don't know her deal.
She's definitely something not normal. She ain't normal.
Yeah. I think one of the things is I know our erstwhile pal Ron is a big Cyclops fan. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I've ever read a very consistent version of him. And I feel like for the last, this century, I got no idea what that character is about. For a while, he had the dumb mask, and he was kind of like a mutant extremist or whatever it is. And this guy here, I was like, oh, this is a grown-up person version of the guy that I understood, as that younger character. And he's older, and they're playing him with those leadership qualities that they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not doing too much, kind of.
He's a good character when it's like Batman. We talk about, like, we don't like the Dark Avenger robot Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We like Batman with a little bit of personality. And here, it's the same thing with Cyclops. I don't like the mutant extremist Cyclops like you talked about. I like this Cyclops who is he's been around since the beginning, so he's a little bit grizzled, but he's a great leader and he inspires people, and he's really, really good at being.
He's
a hero.
Also like not doubting himself,
Right.
like that's not still good enough to be the leader. Whatever. Like they did that. Right. You have I know there's
he's
like
way
comic
beyond
books.
that.
Yeah, but so they have evolved them to a certain extent. I like that they were just sitting around having beers. I mean,
Magneto, yeah. Although I still hate the Max thing. I won't call him Max.
That's fine. I had that thought too. Also, he throws the can up in the air and crushes it, and I was like, "That's aluminum, buddy, not magnetic." Sorry, I don't know how you guys don't know this. Well, I guess he's the master. Is he metal? I don't know. Maybe he changes the rules of it or whatever.
Aluminium.
And it's funny because I would think that. You know how you said like this is Stegman-like art, and I think that that's true. It's way over the top. Like Magneto's fucking ripped. He looks ridiculous in his costume standing around, but I was like, this is what it is.
It's comics.
Be that. It's comics. It's, I like, Beast in a lab coat. I don't mind getting to know like a couple of these new characters. I don't know what her superhero name is or whatever. I love Glob. He's just so happy looking because he doesn't have lips. But, I like their little, like it's small, it's contained. We get to spend time with them. We know what's going on. We know they're formidable. And, I don't expect to like these. So when, 7 issues in, this is better to me than Jed McKay's Avengers, which isn't to say that's bad or whatever. It's fine, right. But it's more interesting.
Way more interesting. And I love the moments, so we go back in time here, like you said, and they're having beers and the Summers family cabin in Alaska, which I think it's great that they have the Sentinel factory right outside of it. So like, he's like, this is an affront to me. Like this is, I'm at my family's cabin. I sit out here with a beer and I have to look at this factory. And I thought that was an interesting way of making him melancholy. And then, that they're discussing the nature of who they are. Like, who are we? Like, we're not Anchor Co anymore. Like, what is our purpose? And he's like, and Magneto's like, we need the X-Men need to be X-Men. And then when that rogue Sentinel shows up and attacks the town, even though the people are, in the Marvel tradition sort of thing, mutant, not curious, but mutant, worried. Mutaniverse. It's like, who are you guys? Like, we're the X-Men. And that was a great moment and a great panel from Netho Diaz with the hero shot. There's always got to be a hero shot. It's often forgotten about, but it's a hero moment. You need a hero shot. The lights glinting in his visor. Magneto's doing the Magneto pose. I mean, he's pulling off the yellow jacket.
Nobody's abs look like that. That's not all right.
Those abs are giant.
I'm saying, but what's going on the top bit?
He's got a million little abs. That's Magneto's other power.
I'm telling you right there, if somebody had spotted that, they'd been like, yeah, there is something wrong with you. That's your first signal. That's not okay.
If people have a 6-pack, he's got a 49-pack.
But they're all over the place. He looks like Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
I like that. Like, it's like, I don't even care about anatomy. We're giving him too many muscles. How old is he? 75, whatever.
Wait, way more than that? Well, I guess he would have been a kid during the war.
Oh yeah. So,
85.
And so, maybe. The little bit, I think it's really nice structure to have him sitting on his porch and saying that's his family. I don't know if they've mentioned that before.
Yeah,
that's why they're there. That's
yeah.
That like there was sort of no reason before. And then finally, I'd almost forgotten about it, is that, the reason for Magneto being in his little chair now is that it turns out that there could be a negative effect of resurrecting your dead bodies over and over again.
Right. Regeneration linked degenerative sickness.
And I liked that because that was actually part of Fuck Island that I didn't like, because it's too much power. Like, if nobody has to die and they just resurrect everybody, and there was no consequence, I liked that they put a consequence in. Like, that had to be. Otherwise, it's too like, and it was silly. Then there's no stakes. Then,
Yeah,
like,
and it also is part of the tradition, like the techno-organic virus. There's always been some sort of like virus that
Mhm.
the mutants are susceptible to. But you're right. You fly too close to the sun, you play willy-nilly with death. The consequence is a fun twist.
Yeah. And I think that was a really smart thing to put in here. And I thought, again, like all of these reveals have been very subtle. And it makes me feel like it was worth sticking around rather than I was trying to catch up. Like I was reading it correctly.
And then the little post-credit sequence, which is, I guess, what you get in the bonus page with the QR code, is Beast in his fedora and trench coat going to have a date with the cop, or at least lunch with her, the one we met in the first issue, gets abducted in the best possible bag over the head yoink way. And it's good. This was a good issue. The more I talk about it, the more, I mean, I liked it to begin with, but the more I like it talking about it, it's very good.
And we're talking about like there's a lot of first issues that came out and sort of new things or whatever, but sometimes the sort of middle of an arc, the things come together and you sort of move towards the next. And I hope this is like the Zeb Wells one. We're just sort of a series of peaks instead of, a climax, and that's it. Like, just let's ride this out for a bit. No, you know what I mean.
Climax, we're all about it today.
You said tumescence. I said flaccid, which is just...
It's a group effort. It's my favorite X-Men book. I'm reading a bunch of the X-Men books. Mm-hmm. I like Uncanny okay, although I don't know
I'm reading about it. I think I have gotten away from all of them, except I think I inadvertently dropped NYX.
I did, yeah, but I think you should. Uncanny is mostly because the art is so good. But my favorite story is happening in the X-Men book. X-Men, this one. Yeah. X Factor's what I'm reading. X-Force is what I'm reading. That one's okay. Mm-hmm. I'm on the edge of that one.
I'm good. That's enough. I don't want to.
You don't need to read all of them.
No. Yeah, that's true.
Aliens versus Avengers #2, and
it was almost this.
You love an Aliens comic.
I do, but that's secondary to the fact that I would have mostly based it on the art.
It's so good.
It's like he said, Ribic, and Jonathan Hickman's story is good and it's very smart and it reads really well.
There's an accent over that C. It's probably Ribic.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
I did get a little bit lost in the beginning with the flashback to another universe, another time. I think I forgot this was a multiverse story. Mm-hmm. I just, you know what? A lot happening this week. This was a book I read in the middle of the week.
Yeah. Take
that for what you will. And so it took me a little bit to get up to speed. I was like, wait, what's happening? Who are these dudes? These are replicants, but wait. And then I was like, oh, right, they came from a different universe. That's right. It took me a minute to get back up to speed. That's all I'm saying.
Same deal. Like all the little things. I think I liked the second half more. Like we had to see the Promethean aliens.
Terrific with Cap and Hulk. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't Miles be way older?
It's a different universe.
I mean, no, it's the future of the Marvel universe. All the Marvel universe characters who are probably like 30 or 40 now look like they're elderly, and Miles looks like he's like 28.
Well, he's venomed. Maybe that makes a difference. Or maybe like his version of the spider bite keeps him.
I guess. I just had that thought. Anyway, that's not important. So this issue is all about escaping. It doesn't matter. They decide they got to escape.
He said get out of town. Makes him look so cool.
Yeah.
He does. So good.
And so this issue, Tony Stark realizes they got to get out of Dodge because he's selling his company to the Weyland-Yutani. Oh, it's just Weyland Corporation. Mm-hmm. And he's outwitted them and realizes that they got to get out of town. There's no good coming. And so he's going to fly looks like the Baxter building. Fly, I guess, Avengers Tower, whatever building this is really a spaceship.
That the Weyland building?
Is it?
I believe so.
How would he have made the Weyland building into a spaceship?
I don't know. They merged.
Whatever building he's in, they're going to fly it. He made it into a spaceship, and they're going to get out of there because there's aliens that come in.
Well, there's two really cool reveals in this. Is one like the replicants have it seems they've got him, and then he's like, well, before you go, and he pulls that and explains what he did right, which, I'm willing to allow a lot of imagination leeway for these kinds of things.
Well, you think he's frail and broken and old, and he may be that in a physical sense, but he's still there mentally. And so you're right. Mm-hmm. First couple of pages, you think they are popping champagne. They're buying out his company. They're going to take it over. And he's drawn very small in the frame, very sort of dour. His face is low. And then he does the, hey, have you heard of the expression playing possum? And that's when Tony's brain kicks in and realizes he's outsmarted them. But
and then the other half of it is that you kind of, especially if you don't remember what happened in the last one, you're like, oh, they're in the city or whatever, and then you realize like, no, this is one of the last bastions of humanity. Like those are the walls are holding the aliens at bay, and the aliens are barely in this really.
Just the very end, yeah.
Which is, by the way, correct because it's about well, this is not about the corporation; it's about the replicants, which is
where's Paul Reiser?
Sort of problematic. He was the hero of the other story.
I know, but he should be in this one too.
Yeah, we're spending a lot. It's a little watching the Promethean aliens around. Like I get it, it's all a universe, but I'm a little like, all right, careful. This is like introducing prequel characters.
Romulus is hitting streaming soon. I'll still be able to watch it. I just missed it when it was in the theaters. Anyway, the ending is cool because they're about to take off, but then they see that Cap, of course, is leading the last sort of group of humans who didn't make the ship in time, and he's fighting off the aliens. There's like 100 people. He's leading to safety, and they're like, of course it's him. Of course he's saving the day, but they can't make it in time. And so Bruce Banner decides he's not going to let him go down like that, so he jumps out of the ship and goes down and helps him. I thought it was a great sequence and a great ending.
Actually, a bunch of really great panels. The scale on this is all fantastic, but him opening the door, and then you sort of cut, and he is hulked out, and then like that awesome shot of him jumping out, and then the seismic landing. Just all, I mean, like what a great. It's funny because I can't think of anybody to compare Reek with, but if you look at what is the page? It's the one after he lands and he's like ripping up xenomorphs or whatever. And I look at it for just a second. I was like, that's a little Kevin O'Neill there. There's a little look at this is a little League of Extraordinary Gentlemen on that page. You see it. There's some of that angularity, some of those marks. It's a different version of it, but
look at the next page 28. The look on Tony's face when he says launch because he knows he's leaving Steve and Bruce behind. It's not something he takes lightly, and it's breaking his heart to do it. But he's got to save everybody else, and
which is also interesting because it's a very un-Marvel-like thing to do. Normally, like they find a way, and they still might. There could be a twist on it, but like I think
I would be surprised if they were not still around later in the story.
Sure, but I think it does say something about their level of threat of the aliens that they're taking seriously in this story. Like we have to make the aliens, because in alien stories, aliens always win. Like somebody gets away, but for the most part, like they get what they want.
And here it's all about the spores, the tiny little spores, and so they're really worried. It's not just the face huggers and all. It's just like if these little spores make it, we can't do this. And so that whole page is great. The insert shot of him and his face saying launch, the engines kicking off, and there's the shot of a Hulk, tearing apart aliens, and in the background is the ship taking off. Like it's just a very good sequence. And then the ship in orbit, and he's clearly upset. They're all upset. And so it was a good issue.
It was a really good issue. Could have gone either way. I could have made it that way, but
I understand. So we had our trifecta completed this week with the release of the third Absolute book, Absolute Superman #1. There'll be more Absolutes coming, but this is the trifecta of the Trinity. The Trinity's been completed. This is Jason Aaron, Rafa Sandoval, Ulysses Areola.
I caught that.
Another one, Becca Carey. And I liked this.
I liked it. For some reason, I thought it was Scott Snyder. I just thought that was his book. But as I started reading, I was like, hey, this is, and I went back and I was like, oh, Jason Aaron. And you can tell, like I don't mean that in a bad way, but I was like, oh, I see Jason Aaron in here. And I think it was the one that was the farthest of the three.
Away from the original?
Well, in the sense, like the other ones are very different stories and backgrounds or whatever, but in the center of it was still this character who you recognize. But having Clark not go through the same stuff, it makes him inherently different.
Right. He's not raised by the Kents, so he doesn't have that innate sense of the Kentness. He's already a sentient person on Krypton. He's a kid with, he's going to remember Krypton. It's not like he's a baby.
And also, as always happens, always happens. There's this story about Superman on Krypton, and then over in Action Comics is a story about Superman on Krypton. They like, have you, like, why does it always happen? There's like a zeitgeist that goes through the office, but it makes it difficult for me to remember which bit is which. And I'm sorry about that.
So in this one, Clark, well, he's not even Clark because there's no
Yeah,
Kent.
I know. I was saying it. I was just wrong.
He's in the favelas, Brazil, helping out the miners because his parents were miners on Krypton. You know, in this story, Jor-El is not part of the Science Guild. He's not an exalted scientist. He is a lowly miner, and his wife is a lowly miner. His wife seems to be the really smart engineer.
Well, he could have been, but he had to be too outspoken. That was the deal.
He couldn't keep his trap shut.
Right.
And so they end up. So that's the twist on that is they are not who they were before. And Clark, he's not Clark. Cal was older. We don't see the planet explode, but we see him on the planet. But on the present day on Earth, he's been sort of going around the globe, saving miners from mistreatment. Mm-hmm. It's very much of the early days of the original Action Comics stories. Very much the early days of the Grant Morrison.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot like the Grant Morrison ones.
But the early days too. In the first early days of the Siegel Schuster stuff, he was fighting slumlords, and so here he's like, the air is toxic, so the air suddenly is blown from all the toxins are gone, and then the diamonds have been crushed, so they don't have to work backbreaking. Like he's just going around helping miners out in his moody hoodie and emo hair, and fighting the peacemakers who all look like Peacemaker.
Second that I see a comic book character in a book with one of those floopy llama haircuts, I drop that book. I just want to put or a non-ironic mullet. If you
mean
put,
the one that Clark has? Damn it! The one that Cal has?
He's almost got it. I'm trying to let it be, but I'm not okay with that.
The other twist is Lois is a mercenary. Well, she's one of the peacemakers. Of the three, probably the least good. But I also still really liked it. So,
I'm not going to give it a good bad. I'm going to say the one that I kind of connected with the least, because the character in it, we don't really, like, we get that he's fighting the good fight, but we don't know anything about him or what he's like or how he got there. And like, we didn't really get to recognize Superman in him other than he's doing, he's fighting for the little guy. Right. That's kind of as far as it goes.
He's got no cape.
Her little vest is Lazarus.
That's the company.
Oh, right.
Lazarus means peace. That's their slogan.
That's not true. Does it?
It doesn't. Doesn't mean that at all.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. That someone wrote that. I'm telling you, whoever's the marketing person at Lazarus is not getting paid very well.
I like how whenever we see people on Krypton and anything, they always have like ridiculous, like 50s style sci-fi clothing and accessories, and I like how they stick with it all the time.
I like it.
We're gonna put dumb glasses on them.
It was a very different Krypton than what we're used to.
I
liked that. It was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was really well done. I thought the art was fantastic. In terms of like big, exciting stuff, lots of action.
And there were smart ideas, like on Krypton. Much like these here would pay the water bill, there you pay the rain bill, and they come and they seed the clouds. So the whoever does it is gouging the farmers because they need the rain. Like, I thought there was a lot of interesting sci-fi ideas in here.
Yeah.
And again, it's just an Elseworld story. It's fun.
Yeah.
For now.
I mean, it's a high level of craft. That's a great cover.
It's good.
Yep. Which
is funny because we were all making fun of these books, and now we all eat crow. One thing people may not know about us is we're big fans of Batgirls, especially Cassandra. I mean, my heart will always be with Barbara.
Sure.
But my solid number 2 is Cassandra. Again, don't email me, Stephanie Brown fans. She's a solid number 3. But you and I have always loved Cassandra Cain. Way back to Cataclysm when we were in college. And her series, her solo book was terrific. And so now she's back with a solo book. This is this first one since that original book that she's been the lead of. The only lead. She was the co-lead. Sorry. This is the only solo book she's had since that original one.
Well, that is the only Batgirl book that I've ever stuck with for a very long time in my reading career.
Right.
And I remember sort of not expecting to really care about it one way or another, but I just loved the art. And Kelly Kelly Puckett, Kirby Puckett.
Kirby Puckett is in the Hall of Fame.
Well,
Kelly Puckett is the artist or the writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just looked like nothing else. It was such a cool character. They did a different thing with it, and I love that she is back. And so when I saw, hey, Batgirl #1, I got Takeshi Miyazawa as an art.
Huge draw for me. I love Takeshi
Yes.
Miyazawa. Terrific artist. Almost everything they've done, from Mechadet U to Silk and a bunch of other Runaways, a bunch of other stuff. Just Miss Marvel, a lot of work on Miss Marvel.
But I did not know who Tate Bromble was.
I'm
Which
looking
sounds
him
like
up
a fake name
Tate Bromble.
that like would have existed. It was one of Ichabod Crane's neighbors.
Tate Bromble seems to be coming up the traditional way. He has been writing horror books at Boom. So he's making the jump from Boom.
Well, so that being said, that would have been the only thing to give me pause. Is like, I don't know who this person is, but I thought right away, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
this is pretty well done. We start off in this version of the character has again matured a great deal since the old days, like a self-assured person. She talks now, which normally is like, it'll make her talk, but I actually think that goes along with her personal growth. And I'd kind of forgotten because they haven't really talked about it, was that like her thing is to read all the movements of everything, which is why she hasn't talk.
I love that bit here.
Yeah.
Where the captions you normally get where the character's thinking, here it's her reading body language, which used to be a big part of her character because she didn't talk. And in the other books she's in, they don't do that. And so you almost forget that's like a big part of who she is. I thought this was great. You dropped us in the middle of a story with her and her mom, Lady Shiva, the best fighter in the DC universe. These other ninjas are trying to kill them. They get attacked. It's a lot of talking, a lot of fighting. Arrows get shot. People get hit. There's punching, kicking. Like, I thought it was everything you want in a Cassandra Cain book.
And the costume is the costume. It's a great costume, and they didn't change a thing about it.
Still got the stitches on the face, which I love.
Love it. Yeah, big fan.
I just love Cassandra Cain. She's a great character. And I'm glad that Tate Bromble seems to have a very good handle on her. I think Takeshi Miyazawa's art is perfect for this book.
Clearly, like, familiar and has affection for that original series.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I mean, again, don't ever accuse me of not loving Barbara, but if it can't be Barbara, and then I'm happy that it's Cassandra. I also love Stephanie, but let's all take a breath. I can't love everybody equally. I love all you equally, though.
That's a lie.
Do you know why? Because they support the show.
They do. Patreon.com/iFanboy is speaking of supporting the show. That was a segue there, wasn't it?
I tried.
Yeah. No, I just I'm not good. You can directly support the show by going there and signing up to support at the level of which you are comfortable, that you feel is correct for you. It is not mandatory. We certainly appreciate those of you who can, and it is important if you are able and you have the means and you find it valuable, then by all means, please move forward with that. Makes a big difference to us. It keeps the shows. It keeps the shows going. That's what I'm going to tell you. And it's a great community on Discord and Facebook. Great community. It is always. There's a monthly Patreon hangout. We always make sure to get all these shows going that exist because of the Patreons who brought it along. iFanboy.threadless.com. There are currently 13 designs on T-shirts and more. I will tell you, we're close. That's as much as I'm going to say.
We're looking at mock-ups today.
Yeah, there's definitely
we're closer.
Coming there's things coming.
It goes ideation, design, mock-up, and then we got to get a test shirt to make sure it prints okay.
Yeah.
And then they can go on sale. So right now we're on step 3 of 5.
Yeah. But often there's a period of 6 to 95 weeks in between those sections.
You can't rush ideation.
You certainly cannot. And God damn you for trying.
Right, yeah.
Oh, also on Threadless, there's promo code 20% off for the holiday season. Site-wide 20. Site, SITEWIDE 20. That code expires on November 14th at 9 a.m. Eastern. So if you get your shirts like right up against the deadline, that's what you got to know it is. iFanboy.com/support has a direct donation via PayPal link. And of course, iFanboy.com/Amazon. If you use that as your link to go shopping as you head into this holiday season, you will be doing us a tremendous favor.
Yes, thank you.
It costs you nothing. I think we're nicer than other people who have links I think we appreciate it more.
I think we're nice.
I'm saying nicer, like we're putting
nicer
on
for sure.
Yeah.
Are we the nicest guys in podcasting? I don't know. You said that, not me.
Oh, we were going with a yes. We might be. I think I'm so
not.
humble.
Yeah, absolutely. The most humble guys in podcasting. I mean, yeah, probably.
Is it
the best looking? Obviously.
Is it humble to brag about being humble?
That's
a paradox,
nicest,
right?
humblest, best looking. I mean, kind to dogs. All these things, but really humble is really the main thing.
You gotta hit that dog thing. And then bookshop.org is an organization that aggregates local bookstores, and we try to use those links whenever possible on the website because they support great businesses, great folks. And that is all for now. Let's move along. Thanks to everybody who takes any part in any of those things and goes out of their way one single tiny iota because they appreciate the show. Thank you.
I do want to say that before we get into the guts of the next book is that, Marvel's been running this double page spread tribute to John Cassaday, and every time I open a Marvel book, I get the gut punch again.
Yeah.
It just keeps hitting me because he was so very close to our age and, sort of was hitting prominence just as we were starting.
Yeah.
And so I feel like anyway, we've talked about him when we passed, but just every time I open a Marvel book, I flip open, I'm like, oh, fuck. Every time,
and I really
good tribute, very good tribute by Marvel.
I really like how Marvel and DC, although I'm seeing Marvel in my head, but how they have made like it's when one of us dies, and I say us, but like one of those people, like there's a solid month of making sure that the book's talking. Like when Bill Russell died, all the Celtics had their armbands on all season. Actually, the whole league did, I think. It's like that. Yeah. And there's something sort of, I love that about comics.
It's a small community.
That said, the 2-page spread that we just keep seeing over and over, and I was like, this doesn't even begin to cover.
Oh no.
Because
it's just the Marvel work.
No, and it totally is. But it's not even that. It's just like, it's so much bigger than this. But I actually really do appreciate that happens.
I love that Captain America sketch, the black and white sketch. Every time my eye goes right to that.
Yep.
Anywho, let's talk
back to the show.
Let's talk about the Ultimates number 6 back into Elseworlds territory. I thought this was a really fun issue. The team is sort of together now. Iron Lad, Captain America, Hawkeye, Thor, Sif, She-Hulk. I don't remember where the Human Torch came from. Giant Man, Wasp, America Chavez. Like that's a good team.
It's Jim Hammond.
They go out there. Right, but I don't remember where he came from in the story. He's just here. I just can't remember.
I remember when he shows up, but I don't remember the detail. Like I remember it happened,
this one killed Hitler.
Much. Yeah.
Human Torch, recently restored antique android, killed Hitler. It's like, oh. So they go on their first mission, which is without Doom, because Doom is tortured, to go confront the Hulk. And they use this portal door. They think they're going somewhere. They end up somewhere else. Oh no, they're not going to confront Hulk. They're going to rescue some people who are being held.
And they were transferred. They were teleported to Kunlun, basically.
Kunlun, where the Hulk is waiting with T and his Iron Fist buddies, and because Hulk also has the Iron Fist. And then I thought it was just a terrific sequence. I love the beginning where he keeps offering them tea, and then they start fighting. He's like, "Oh man, I went to all the trouble to make the poison tea," and they have a really brutal fight where they stand their own against these traditional Marvel Kunlundian martial artists.
What's funny is that these are all sort of ultimate versions, and these are not the ones that were in Ed Brubaker and Matt Fraction's Iron Fist book a really long time ago, where those characters were, except for Fat Cobra, because everyone loves him so much. Like, no, just keep him exactly the same.
Great character, great name. Everyone loves Fat Cobra, and so
sure,
that was a great fight scene. And then there's some consequence. At one point, the Hulk. I mean, we give you a spoiler warning. The Hulk grabs Iron Lad and smashes him, and then crushes him. And unlike normally, he's maybe dead.
Yeah, I thought the same thing where they. There's a couple of like fake deaths that happen in here. The Fat Cobra eats the Wasp, and then he goes down, and then the Hulk like basically breaks off She-Hulk's hand, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a problem." And then like kind of at the end, you're like, "Oh, it's grown back."
Right.
Which I was
like Wolverine.
Yeah,
I think this is a fun team. I still think this book maybe is moving slightly slow, but I think Dennis Camp is good at this.
Yes.
Juan
Yes.
Frigeri is obviously a terrific artist. This is a good package.
And the only thing I would say is that right now I've got 3 Avengers books,
Sure.
and they're all kind of off of the beaten path of where Avengers are, and
What's the third one?
Is Aliens. With the Aliens one.
Right.
I mean, I
all came out
maybe
this
wouldn't
week.
get that, but they
They all
out
came out this week.
They all came out this week, and so maybe too similar. And
Spread them out.
And fucking Tony Stark or Iron Man, whatever, is the center of all. Well, this Avengers Suzuki was just like a solo Black Panther thing, which was great, but
spread them out, dudes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't read FML, so you have to go with this one.
FML is a book from it's Kelly Sue DeConnick and David Lopez, pretty skilled team. I was trying to think of who the publisher is. I think it's Dark Horse. As I get there to open it, and
iPad, don't fail me now.
I kind of it is Dark Horse. I read the first of all, I was like, that's a great title. I can't believe no one's used that before. And I read, and I think that having read like the blurb of it, I probably wouldn't have picked it up if it wasn't Kelly Sue DeConnick. But I was like, all right, what is this veteran gonna do? And it's very much like the group of, I don't think it's the 80s. No, it's not the 80s. It's now, but it kind of feels like that because, sort of a group of girls who, are outcast a little bit and go on a little bit of adventure, and they're kind of a witch coven, but just in the kid version of it. And I thought a lot of the character setup and interaction was pretty good. The one girl who we meet first, I think it's a girl. I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter. The mother it sounded like she was an ex-punk rocker. They were like, oh, you guys know her as she was once known as Patty Cake, and they show her in a band, but then also she had a zine. I just thought, oh, that's interesting. I've actually never seen that. We're that age now. Where the punk kids, have parents and what that's like. And the mom and the younger sister are super into watching, murder documentaries and podcasts. And it's all these little elements, I think, that were nice character things. We see these kind of stories with boys a lot. The Goonies, sure. The group of people. And this is every bit as real. Like Kelly Sue's kind of our age. She's kind of from our, subculture. Like, oh yeah, these people exist, and I don't really see them in comics very much. And then I thought David Lopez's art was pretty fantastic. There's all these sort of tricks and little cutouts of like, it almost looks like paper collage, except I don't think it's really paper collage. Where you see like lined notebook paper on the page. At the end, one of the characters seems to be a monster. Wakes up in the morning.
So you enjoyed it?
I did. I enjoyed it more than I'm glad I enjoyed it, because I was like, this could go either way. I haven't loved everything that she's ever done, but I pay attention when somebody's been around in professional comics for a while goes and does their own thing.
Sure.
And hasn't for a bit, because I think that's always worth just sort of experiencing and seeing what they do without the confines of the other stuff. But it sort of feels a little like, there's a little bit of the grommets. There's a little bit of that duck and cover book. There's, this, or what was the Kelly Thompson book where the end of the world one, like kind of that.
Yes. I can't remember the name of that.
They're all sort of throwbacks to these kinds of childhood roaming around in the woods things that kids don't do anymore.
Right.
That's like, it turns out I really do have nostalgia for that. Because I
can
did
do something
that.
about it.
You didn't grow up in like we were in the woods a lot.
Oh, we went to the park. We were in Central Park a lot. No, but I'm saying we were on our own by ourselves.
No, true.
All day long. Probably no one offering you heroin in the park.
No, certainly not. I briefly considered making Skin Police number 2 pick.
No one offered me heroin in Central Park. At least that I remember. I read Skin Police number 2 on Tuesday night, so I'm trying to remember what happened today.
Oh, that was a problem.
Sorry, Jordan and Daniel and Jason
beautiful
and Jeff.
World building that's happened here. Last time we sort of got that quick one issue introduction to it and saw the one side of it from the Skin Police's side. The idea being there was human cloning, and then all the clones, it turns out, had an effect where they would, they were 25% chance of, maybe 75% chance of
3 and 4 of them will pop and immediately become vicious homicidal monsters. So 75% chance of popping into a monster.
Right.
Not an actual monster, but a vicious homicidal.
And like
homicidal.
I think that it was really not just talk to Jordan, not talk explode. That's why I said that. I think there's a really nice way of like immediately switching the point of view and watching them go through this. We meet a lot of these clones and we see what their side of their underground world is and what they go through to do this. And I thought this is really well done. And there's a great action scene in the middle of this.
Yes.
The main guy of the Skin Police, who everyone hates. Everyone like he seems like a good guy, like he's kind of a good protagonist, but you don't really know where you stand. And they leave
right. You don't know
like
if
the
he's
city
good or bad or not. You're not sure.
Yeah, they leave the city, they go out into the sticks, and it's a whole different thing there. There's a lot in the issue. Great action sequences, very, very, very Judge Dredd. I felt like they look that way, and they got the big guns. And
I thought that the whole underground community of medicated.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's their names are, where they're kept at bay with the medication was interesting. Duplicates.
But then we also got to see one of them pop bad.
Sure.
And you're like, okay, they are quite dangerous. I see why they have to do this.
There was a really great silent page after that where they have to kill him, where they open the gates and they see how bad it is. We know how bad it is because we've seen it. And I thought this was a very well done. But you could slow it down. One guy walks off and vomits, and then the other guy just has to shoot him. Like I thought it was a very well done sequence.
But also, you could see how difficult it was in the body language.
Totally.
Like he doesn't want to do it, and that's
not an easy thing at all.
So this idea that everyone is just doing the thing that they do because where they are, they have to, and it's not easy, and it's not black and white. These are not the bad guys. These are not the good guys. At least in the context of us, telling this story, it's really well done. It's a great sci-fi story.
And I think it's only 4 issues, so we're rapidly moving through it.
I could go with more.
Totally. Those are the books we wanted to talk about. It was not a huge week. Not a tiny week, but not a huge week. But at patreon.com/iFanboy, every patron of the show gets to vote to add a book to the rundown. It was a tight race, but the winner ended up being JSA #1 from DC Comics, Jeff Lemire, Diego Olaturgui.
It was
Olo Rituegui. There's too many R's in that. Olo Rituegui.
Olategui.
Olategui. Because in French, that'd be Guy.
Yeah, I don't think it's French.
Yeah. Colors Luis Guerrero and letters Steve Wands. I love the JSA. I'm a big JSA guy. I've always been a JSA guy, even back to being a kid, reading the Golden Age adventures, or at least having them referenced, showing up in Silver Age and Bronze Age books. I've read every JSA series that's been published since I've been alive. And I keep forgetting that there was just a Jeff Johns miniseries, but that was so weird.
Did you read all that?
I did. I read all of it.
Because that led right into this, correct?
No.
Oh.
Nothing to do with it.
You kidding me?
Nothing to do with it.
Oh. I dropped off that, so I just thought, okay, this brings me back to where...
They put Jeff Johns in a bubble, and they just left him in there.
Fair.
So first I want to say that Diego's art, I think he did one of the miniseries they did. It might have been the Jake Garrick one. I really liked it a lot. It has very much shades of Scott Collins.
Yeah.
I liked that vibe.
But
more Scott Collins-y.
Yeah, well, no, but like it's like Scott Collins, but like very, very intricate, I think.
And something more cartoony.
Yeah, and a little, this is a bit of like, Image, like early Image kind of, that kind of energy. And even like if you look at like the first page after the credits, so that's page 6, it's almost like a what's his name? Who Needs to Stop It? Black Science.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a lot here.
Scalera.
Yeah, Matteo Scalera. And I actually really enjoyed that part of it. I thought, this is really exciting comic book art. Superhero comic book
It moves really well. It's very kinetic. Everyone's sort of exaggerated. The female Wildcat's always pounding her fist.
Yeah.
I thought this was a very strange book.
Well, so all that, all those things is that none of these characters are really characters who I know. They're antecedents of the characters I know.
Infinity Inc. So in the history of comics, you had the Justice Society, and then you had all their kids and or sidekicks who were Infinity Inc. Kind of like the Teen Titans, which is the Justice League. And I was reading this book and I thought, did I miss something?
I
Like,
definitely
what is
felt
happening?
that.
I thought this was Jeff Lemire is terrific. I thought this was a bad first issue because it doesn't establish anything.
See, I thought it was just continuing from the other one, and I just had missed it, and that was on me.
No.
Huh.
If it did, it was issue 11 because issue 12 of that series was entirely about Stargirl. And issue 11 may have come out in 1984. I don't remember. But this, a number one has to establish a baseline. I get it. He's dropping us in the middle of this story where the main part of the Justice Society is missing. And so Infinity Inc. has stepped up, even though they seem to be calling themselves the JSA, but they're captioned as Infinity Inc.
They have the table.
They're at the JSA headquarters, but again, they're captioned Infinity Inc. And it's like Jade and Obsidian, and then the new versions of Wildcat, Dr. Midnight, and Hourman, two of which are from the TV show, one of which was back from Crisis. She didn't last long. And then the young Sandman, and somebody else. Then it's
Flash.
Jesse Quick. So sort of the young versions, and they're stepping in because the regular Justice Society is missing. Okay, but it just felt like I had missed an issue, or this was issue 2 or 3.
Well, I would say the thing here for me is that I don't really know any of these characters. And as we start the story, they all seem to hate each other. And I was like, what do I care? Like, I don't like any of these characters. Right. And I haven't got to know any of them, so I don't know.
Wasn't Jade Kyle Rayner's girlfriend?
Yeah. I remembered, like, Jade is Jade and Obsidian are Alan Scott's kids.
Yeah, they're siblings.
Obsidian's gay. That was like a thing for a while.
Yeah.
And now Alan Scott is too. Oh, I see. Anyway,
I was confused because
and they're doing like a hawk and dove thing, and like I was like,
wasn't Jesse Quick dating Hourman, but the other Hourman?
I don't know, but they have a bad relationship, and they need to break it off.
Really terrible relationship.
But it was just a bunch of characters I don't know fighting with each other.
Yeah,
with great art.
It really just felt like this was issue 2, and I was confused. Now, it doesn't mean the series won't be good going forward because we get information. And again, I understand the idea of dropping you in the middle and then slowly revealing things. That's like Aaron Sorkin's whole trick. But it didn't. I don't think it worked.
Well,
it just left me more confused and annoyed than anything else.
I don't think it had a hook.
Right.
There wasn't a hook. So this is the first thing I read, like early on, and I was like, oh, JSA book is number 1. I was like, let me try it out, and I kind of just finished it, and I'm like, it didn't.
The JSA seemed to be trapped in the Tower of Fate, and it's like Hawkman and Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, but it's the other Dr. Fate and the Hawks.
Weren't a lot of these themes in the other books, though?
I don't know. It came out during the Reagan administration.
Fair. I just,
then Obsidian isn't Obsidian, right? He is actually Johnny Sorrow, pretending to be Obsidian. So that's...
Oh, right. I don't know who that is.
I don't know either. He's part of the Injustice Society.
If you don't know who it is, then it's not a good reveal for a first issue.
I love the Justice
Society. That's an issue 24.
I know everybody. I just thought this was ill-conceived as a structure. Now, it doesn't mean going forward, the JSA plus Jeff Lemire plus Diego isn't going to be terrific because it's a great combination. But this issue, I thought, wasn't doing it for me, which bummed me out because I was super excited for a new JSA book. But it just didn't have that spark. You need to assume someone who doesn't know a shit about the JSA is reading this book. Like, oh, there's a new number 1 from Jeff Lemire. I'll check it out. That person's going to be fucking confused. You got to start from a baseline.
From a practical point, if you're selling comic books, do you need to assume that, or can you assume based on data and experience that pretty much anybody who buys a JSA book is going to have read the JSA before?
Well,
that's
read
realistic.
Maybe not. JSA's never been super popular.
I mean, end of the day, I don't know that it really matters because I've read the JSA off and on. I'm familiar with them, whatever. And I went into this book very much wanting to like it and not thinking as I was reading it, like, I know this is good. But when I finished, I was like, I don't think that gave me anything. I don't feel like I enjoyed it. I felt like the whole time I was like, all right, let's try to figure out what's going on here. Not in the bad way, in the hop on,
right,
read a comic book. But like I said, at the end, it wasn't a hook. I was like, I don't care what's happening to any of these people. Like there was, and there's a lot of reasons, but like, I don't want a bunch of people who I don't know fighting in a book. That's not what, like, there's no stakes for that. I don't care.
Yeah, it was just a misstep, I think, conceptually. Again, it doesn't mean we can't pull out of it and tell a really interesting, fun story. It just right now I was disappointed. I was very excited for the book. Let's rate it. Ratings out of 5. I'm giving it a 3. The art's terrific.
2.45.
Would you have read this without it being the patron pick?
I did.
I did as well. And sticking with it. Are you going to keep reading? I am, yes, obviously.
No.
Oh, no. You're not even giving it a second issue to see if it makes more sense.
Nope.
I'm sorry, Diego. Josh just forsaked you.
I mean, if I hear it's great, I'll go back, whatever. But
Patreon.com/iFanboy. Thanks for being a patron and voting on the weekly patron pick election. The most important election that happened this past week. Let's move on to the patron
It's the
power.
only one I'm willing to talk about.
Anyone who's a patron to $5 or higher level gets a superpower live on the show. It's called the Patron Power. Patreon.com/iFanboy is how you get one. And this week, Josh is in charge of the Patron Power.
Steven Souter can control peevishness.
Can control peevishness
so,
in others.
You have peevishness, you have pet peeves, you have things that you just can't stand.
Mm-hmm.
He can turn those down for you, or up, if the case may be.
He controls pet peevishness.
Yeah, well, pet peevishness is a segment of peevishness.
Right, peevishness is when you're irritated all the time by tiny things.
But a pet peeve is like a thing that just keeps coming up over and over again.
It's like your thing.
So, for example, if you go into a supermarket parking lot and somebody just leaves their cart in the space.
That's your pet peeve.
It's one of my pet peeves. I may have many, but
we're living in a society. Return your cart.
There's a lot of we're living in a society pet peeves with me. That's a big thing for me. And it just I just can't get over it. If I see somebody do it, I'm in trouble because my whole body wants,
you could get shot where you live.
I'm less likely to now because I don't have the energy, and I'm not gonna. I know, because when you're younger, you're like, I can teach somebody something, and now I'm like, I'm not gonna change anything. It's just gonna make people defensive and argumentative and angry. So that doesn't get me anywhere. But I hate it.
So he could turn this down on you, where you don't even notice that there's a cart in your spot blocking.
Well, you'll notice it. Maybe you move it. Maybe you put it. That's what I do, by the way. I put them back self-righteously. You sons of.
You feel good about it,
I'm gonna have to do it.
You feel important.
I feel. Yeah, no, I do.
Superior.
But I don't like that negative feeling. Like, I'm out in the world, and
just trying to buy some eggs.
I don't want to get mad about. Hey, can I tell you something weird?
Yeah.
It's weird enough to share with everybody. No. I went out to get the mail today, and I open up the mailbox, and I find a dozen eggs.
What?
A dozen eggs.
The egg fairy visited
in a container. There's a little sticker on them that says the name of my road, plus eggs or dairy or whatever it is, and a phone number on there. And they gave out some sample eggs, I guess.
Smart.
And I don't live on a street where you would think there would be a lot of egg production. I know there are places that have chickens. I've seen a couple of stands. I think I know where it is or whatever. And I brought it inside, and I first thought, how long have these been out there? Second, I thought, and I go, my wife is going to think somebody's trying to kill us, which she did.
I'm not surprised.
And I was like, I think
were these eggs washed, or did they have this special coating that keeps them from having to refrigerate them?
I don't know. I think they were I think fresh eggs don't require that in the same. I don't know.
Well, because
I don't eat eggs. By the way,
eggs come out with we don't have time for this, but eggs come out with a coating on them, a natural coating that the United States requires to be washed off.
Right.
That is why everywhere else in the world, you'll just see eggs being stored on the counter, whereas in the United States they're in a refrigerator.
I assume it's
for some reason we have to wash them off. If they don't do it, then that makes it illegal. But I didn't.
So I assume it's that, and then I had other thoughts.
So many weird laws here.
So I have two things: is that one, there's no way if it's this little backyard situation they could put eggs in everybody's mailbox. That doesn't work. Then the second thought, I was like, all right, maybe somebody doesn't like my political signs and they're trying to kill me with their eggs.
Maybe they like the cut of your jib.
Vice versa. They might like the cut of it. Or maybe they're doing they'll do a couple each, couple houses each week. It's a little
marketing thing. You go around the town and you give it free eggs with your information.
Can I say something? I don't eat eggs. I wish I did, though, because I understand that probably fresh real eggs are much better, and I bet that that's great.
Well, do you ever like bread anything?
No, I mean, I cook it. I cook with eggs, but I don't eat eggs.
Sure, but you can make.
But I don't know that you can tell
chicken.
the difference, like in a cake. I don't think I'd know the difference there.
These eggs are wonderful.
Right, like the coating that made this.
I bet they do taste great.
Crust
scrambled, probably wonderful.
I bet. I think no one's trying to kill us, but there's no way to know for sure.
Did you check for like needle marks?
They were unmolested as far as I could tell.
I said go for it.
Sorry, that had nothing to do with it. Steven, you can control the peevishness of people. You can make people more peevish. I don't know why you'd want to do that. The world doesn't need it. But you can also be like, I take this from you.
I feel like the internet has that ability to make people more peevish. I think.
Oh, sure.
He's the anti-internet.
Because you find other people who have that peevishness, and then you feel even more self-righteous about it.
You just make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon.com/iFanboy. Thanks for being a patron, Steven. Enjoy your peevish power. We got 2 emails in the script, Josh. One of them feels like a much longer conversation than the other one. So I'll let you decide what we want to do here.
All right. I'm going to go with Ken from you know where. It's north. It's white. It's pretty great. Ken is a prolific, like we wouldn't put his stuff on all the time, but he writes great questions.
Yeah, he does.
He's got to be the best of, it's like whoever that is that calls into the sports radio show like every week, and they just always put him on.
That's the thing. You listen to those shows enough, they get their regulars. We got our regulars. They got their regulars. That's how it works.
So, and I've never heard this question. What is the funniest comic or comic arc you've ever read? P.S. If you could do a book split on the first trade of Justice League International, that would be awesome.
All right.
What is the funniest? I have a couple of answers that sort of came up.
Well, obviously, Justice League International. When I was a kid, I laughed my head off reading, and I still find funny. But they were doing vaudeville, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
In the more modern times, but this is like 20 years old. Was The Adventures of Barry Ween, Boy Genius was.
I was going to say
incredibly funny.
Barry Ween, Boy Genius was. It was the first comic that it was written and drawn by Judd Winnick long ago. I laughed so much and so hard. It was so vulgar. Now, I don't know if you've seen. I mean, if you've seen The Real World, you've seen Judd or you've seen him speak. But he's a very nice person. He's a gentle soul, and there is some filthy shit that comes out of this 10-year-old cartoonist's mouth. I let my son. I had my older son read it, and he was like, "This is fantastic." He doesn't like anything I give him, and he loved it.
That's great.
That's that same answer. I remember laughing so hard at that. No, I actually bought that after he liked it.
The big kid or the little kid?
Yeah, the big kid.
Oh wow!
Oh, he loved it. Yeah.
With a little kid, did he like it?
I don't think he
too young. Too young.
No. We're good. But I'd let him read. I don't have a problem with that.
I'm trying to think. I mean, that's the one. When I saw the one coming originally, that was the book that originally dropped in my head was Barry Ween. So
when I had to think of an arc, my first answer was Hitman. Hitman.
Garth Ennis is in general. It's very funny.
Garth Ennis is in general very funny, but that book specifically, like Preacher's funny. It's got funny concepts and stuff, but it's not necessarily laugh out loud. I remember reading Hitman and many times in the arcs, laughing out loud because it was so sacrilegious towards the superhero comics that are in it, but at the same time, not in the cheap way, but the what were the six, the six characters, Bueno Escalante and the dog welder. The dog welder is one of the funniest concepts that ever has been brought to, the defenestrator. There's a mime. And it's not just those are the really basic ones, but there's funny stuff all through it. And then, the same thing, it has heart or whatever, but that series is funny top to bottom.
Section 8. That was the team. Section 8.
Bueno.
There's lots of writers who are very funny and write funny bits into ongoing books. I couldn't, off the top of my head, think of an issue or an arc, but Jed McKay's funny. Alan Moore is funny.
Alan Moore's really funny. Joe Kelly's really funny.
Yeah, there's lots of. Zeb Wells wrote a lot of funny stuff in the Spider-Man run. But if I think of a funny book, like a comedy book, I would say Barry Ween and Justice League International. Those are meant to be comedies.
Let's give special mention to Kyle Starks and
Kyle Starks' books are very funny.
Fuck Tarkington may be the most we've laughed in 10 years.
Assassination was very
just
funny.
A character name. Assassination, that was a wonderful series.
And the hobo one.
Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Rock Candy Mountain.
Rock Candy Mountain. There you go.
Yeah. So those, but Barry Ween would be the funniest one. I think if you and I had to pick like a number one, that's still funny.
Yep.
All right. What do you want to do? Do you want to stop on time or do you want to go long?
No, we're going to stop on time.
All right.
This
is a good question. We'll get back to that one. We want to hear from you. Thanks for writing in, Ken from the Great White North. Contact at iFanboy.com is how you can write any calls written for our Media Explode show. Although Media Explode is ending this coming week for the year, and it'll be back in January, so you can get those in. But maybe wait till January. And that means it's announcement time. We'll talk about the year-end schedule just for anyone who's new, just for your edification. 2 weeks ago, we had our Book Explode review of The Dark Knight Strikes Again. Interesting, kind of controversial. People took issue with Josh's opinions, but that's okay. That's why we're here. Can't put your opinions out in the world. And I thought
that people who disagreed did so very.
I didn't say they were mean about it. I just said they took issue with it.
Oh yeah, no, but I thought it was very mature and intelligent responses to that discussion. I thought that was
one
good.
person called you an idiot.
I know, but
that was me. It was me.
I was trying to think of a better punchline for it, but you just went ahead and
Mongoloid.
Did it. Yeah. I don't even think you're supposed to say that word anymore.
I don't want to offend any Mongoloids out there.
It's one of those things like it's defensive word. For what? I'm not sure. I don't really know. I remember one time like in school, I said dude, and a teacher was like, that was a word for like a penis or whatever. Like that's what it was originally. And I was like,
that's
okay.
Not anymore.
I know. I was like, I didn't know that. You just told me. I didn't know what I was saying was bad.
Better send me home.
Informed me. Yeah.
So there's only 4 more picks of the week left after this one. We have this coming week, we have our Media Explode show, our final Media Explode of the year. Like I just said, it's going to be in a mailbag, end of the year mailbag. We're going to clean out some of the emails at the end of the mailbag. Then we have POW 954 the following week, November 17th. And then right after that, we have the Talksplode coming out November 21st. Booked? Is it booked or not booked?
It's booked. It's in there. I've been
booked but not recorded.
Yeah, it's as solid as I can make it at this point, and I'm pursuing another.
All right, so then the week after that, 11/24 will be Pick of the Week 955. That's the post Thanksgiving show. Don't know when that's going to be recorded. Don't know how it's going to be recorded. It will be recorded somehow. And then we have Pick Week 956, December 1st, and then Pick Week 957, December 8th. And then after that, the following week, we'll have either a Book Explode or a Talk Explode, depending on how Josh's booking goes. And then the final show of the year will be December 15th, the All Media Year-End Roundup, where we just spend about 3 hours discussing TV and film and books and podcasts and music. And then we return. We go on our winter break. We go into our hibernation. We gain a lot of weight. And then we come back January 5th for Pick of the Week 958. That's the return show in the year 2025.
Fuck off. This year we will be doing the first couple of shows of the new year on elliptical machines. That'll be our new thing.
What's that? That noise in the background the whole time. That's just something elliptical.
It's not the noise that people are going to hear. Not the noise of the machine.
It's the
like it'll be like, what do you rate out? I don't fucking know, dude. I ran out of water a while ago. I think I'm going to pass out. Oh God, my hip locked.
That's true. These things will all be true.
That's true. You can find our library of, and listen, this is not. It says I added a couple of numbers. It could be wrong, but the fact is, none of you are going to count this. 1,416 shows, and I hate that we're doing the exact number now. I do.
We don't have to keep doing it.
We're
getting close to the anniversary.
I know. Let's not mention it again until we get to like 1,500. Right. Over at iFanboy.com, wherever podcasts are sold, you can follow us at iFanboy Comics on Instagram to find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out, and sometimes for the best of the week in panels. Individually, we are at CS Kilpatrick and Jay Flanagan on Instagram. I'm not going to stop the yawn. I'm letting it happen. I tried not to.
Wow. All right.
Nah, it didn't happen. Just by saying it, I killed it.
Something is off of my records here. I've got an extra show. I got to figure that out. Where are we? Oh, yeah. Subscribe to youtube.com/iFanboy where you'll find all of our old video shows. And we post this show there every week. So you might be listening there. If you are, hello. If you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you get to the podcast app. Set iFanboy to auto download. It really helps us out if you do that. Thank you very much. And if you're listening on Pocket Casts, you can now give this show a rating.
Ratings.
You need to be subscribed and have downloaded a few episodes before you can rate it. So please take a few minutes, give us a nice rating, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. And please consider leaving a review or a star rating wherever you listen, not just on Pocket Casts, and maybe Apple Podcasts, and maybe Spotify, or maybe another app we've never even heard of. If you can rate or review, please do. We appreciate it. Thanks very much. I am going now.
Thank God for this, right?
I love it. I was excited for it all day.
Yeah, it's true.
Now I got to figure out why I've got one extra show on the schedule.
Now I have to edit it, which I'm not excited for. Everything after...
I know why. Sorry, I figured it out. That's how quickly I did it.
Everything after this point sucks.
Well, look at it this way, my friend. We have 4 more till the break, and you only have to edit one of those.
All right.
I mean, you have 2 talk explodes in there, but that was your own.
I do more of these than anybody. I'm on more shows.
I don't know about that this year. We'll find out in the last show.
We saw. Well, I was trying to be self-righteous about it. I don't really.
Do you want me to call up the stats?
No, not right now. I don't really care. I just wanted to try to be really self-aggrandizing about it, but not really. I don't really.
I mean, because you're really proving the humbleness, the handsomeness.
Is hating yourself the same as humble?
I think so. In some cultures.
Okay, cool. That's fine.
All right. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.